Are you struggling with home affordability in today's real estate market? Here is what you need to know. First, it's important for you to understand what's happening in today's real estate market so that you can make good decisions on what's best for you. That's what we're going to dive into in today's video. I'm Jen Hernandez. I've been a lender since 1995. If you're new to the channel, every week I release a couple of videos, real facts, no BS, on everything mortgage. I hope you'll stick around. So there's four important trends that affect affordability: supply and demand, interest rates, economic factors, and regional differences like location. So housing supply and demand means how many buyers are demanding property and how many sellers are supplying property. So at the time that I'm making this video, actually, affordability is at an all-time low, which means that a lower number of people can afford homes than ever before. If you look at a historical graph, it just goes down like this the last 4 or 5 years. So it's a really tough time right now in the US. And at the same time, we've got a supply issue. What this means is that there's sellers that are holding on to their homes because they can. They've got 3 or 4% interest. Did you know that like 80% of the US has an interest rate below 5% right now? That's a huge chunk. And 60% of those people have below 4%. That is that's a huge number. So those people are like, why would I move? Where am I gonna go? I'm happy with my interest rate. In fact, I ran into a past client the other day and he said, Jennifer, I will love you forever. You got me 2.75% on my interest rate. I was like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. But that also isn't reality. People need to move, y'all. People have babies, people downsize, people retire, people move to different states. People have to move and they want to move. Buying into, I know there's some comments I might get about the American dream, but I super believe buying a home, an appreciating asset that's increasing in value, is still the best investment of all time. Not like a car where you drive the car off the lot and it immediately decreases value. Real estate is actually the opposite. As you're in your house, it keeps increasing over time. So back to the supply and demand, one thing that really affects affordability is how many homes being supplied and how many people are demanding homes. So right now, yes, we have less sellers and we have less buyers, but of those people, there's more buyers than sellers. So that's pushing the homes. The homes aren't increasing too fast like they were back in the COVID times, but they're increasing, 4 or 5% a year. They're still increasing more than inflation. And so it's making prices out of reach for some people. So another thing that affects affordability is interest rates. Information about interest rates is everywhere. So currently interest rates are it's like a hurricane, a tropical, I live in Houston, so we have a lot of hurricanes. It's like a storm that's brewing that's just like stagnant, staying there, and it won't leave. So the powers that be that dictate monetary policy are keeping the interest rates high because we're not in a recession and they don't need to rescue us from anything. The economy is going actually well. According to the numbers that are being released, the economy, employment is going well. People are still buying things. Actually, inflation is not as low as they need it to be. So this is keeping rates kind of where they are. A reason that they would decrease interest rates would be they need to rescue us from something. Well, the house prices aren't crashing, so there's no rescue needed there. Or there's other major events in history that they've needed to rescue us from. Banking crises back in 2008, different things. So there's no crisis really going on. The other reason to decrease interest rates would be if there's major recession. So that's not happening either, according to the numbers that are coming out that they release every month about how the economy is doing. So that's why interest rates are just kind of hanging out. So that is affecting affordability, which in end affects your mortgage payment. There's also regional differences that affect affordability. I live in Texas, I live in Houston. There's a lot of people coming to our state. There's 2 or 3 states, and we're one of them, that people are flocking to because it is more affordable, believe it or not, compared to other places in the United States. We don't have state tax. The climate's okay. It gets a little bit hot, but we don't have extreme winters. It's not, freezing all the time. So the climate is relatively okay, except August and September. It's pretty hot. But that's why people are coming, for example, to Texas. So our region is experiencing possibly some more affordability because prices of homes might be going up a little bit faster than other parts of the country. So where you live has something to do with affordability. So if you're looking for more affordable houses, try going outskirts, away from the city. Look at a smaller home. Look in an area that's maybe not as booming. Look at an area where people aren't necessarily flooding to, so that the inflation and the increase in the prices of the homes isn't as high as in other areas. So tips for finding an affordable home. Definitely you can start researching affordable neighborhoods online. Everyone starts their search online these days actually before they ever contact a realtor, which is my next power tip, which is use a realtor. So if you're looking at relocating states, what you want to do is you want to first kind of look online, see what's out there. You definitely want to talk to a lender as soon as possible to make sure that the price point that you're seeing is actually affordable for your budget. And then you definitely want to get hooked up with a realtor. A realtor is going to know the area. They've got the expertise. They've done this many, many times before, and they're going to make sure you know where the blind spots are and why they aren't. In fact, we'll put a link to the video below in the description that I've got on how to choose a realtor and what realtors actually do for you. So make sure that you check that out after you watch this video. You want to utilize all the tools and resources that you can. Researching things like crime stats, schools. I live in an area actually where the schools are amazing. So a lot of people flock to my area of town in the suburbs because of the school. So a lot of these tools and resources are available online, and you need to use them. Consider a fixer-upper. Getting a home that might need some TLC, might need some repairs. There are loans that you can get where you can roll those repairs into the loan and still put a fairly low down payment down. So make sure to ask a lender what those options are. So economic factors, that's another thing I mentioned with the interest rates. Economic factors, how our economy is doing. Is the economy booming or is it not booming? That affects affordability. So as we discussed before, interest rates right now are hanging out because of economic factors. It seems that people are getting employed. Unemployment isn't too high. People are still able to find jobs, etc. So the buying and spending patterns of you and I and how we go out and buy goods and services affecting ultimately the interest rates, and it's affecting affordability. The last power tip that I have is to watch your budget. Now, I know that that's easier said than done. My gosh, it seems like every time I turn around, I'm paying something between kids and home maintenance and just living and gas, and the list is endless. So make a list of all of your expenses. Cut out, even though sometimes it's kind of painful. My husband actually got mad at me because I cut out cable. Oh my God, like World War III was happening for about a week, and then he calmed down. But we didn't really need it. We saved $100 a month. So look at the little things that you can cut, the subscriptions on your phone. Oh my gosh, there's a list right there. So really start to chop, and before you know it, you can probably save a few $100s a month that might make that extra home payment a little more palatable. And finally, get a pre-approval letter 6 to 12 months out. I can't stress this enough. There's nothing worse than someone coming to me last minute saying, hey, I just found the house of my dreams. I haven't been pre-approved. And they find out what the payment or the closing costs are, and they're like, oh my God, you have to be kidding me. So if you're even thinking about moving in the next year, you should talk to a lender. Ask your friends about lenders, get recommendations to people that are trusted. Talk to 1 or 2 people, definitely. and get closing costs, get an estimate, talk about what your forecast is going to be and how much you need to save. Are there down payment assistance programs? These are the things that are going to really benefit you by talking to a lender 6 to 12 months out from when you want to move. And so finally, considering government incentives. So did you know that there's no federal US government incentive for purchasing a home? That's actually a big myth. The government actually puts money to the state level, and then the states distribute the money to the local, either state or locally, to reach the people. There's down payment assistance programs that are usually income driven, meaning you have to make below a certain income in order to access them. So be prepared for that. Also, usually credit score limits and debt to income ratio limits as well. Again, another reason to get with a lender as soon as possible. So we had a client, Betty, this year, and she got into the home with $400 out of pocket. We used down payment assistance to give her the down payment, and then we had a seller credit money towards closing costs in order to help her offset that extra amount that she needed. She came with $400. This single mama was so happy. I've got another video. You're probably wondering, like, what does that mean, closing costs from the seller? I've got a video that explains that, so you want to stick around. Thanks for joining in. Talk to you soon.